the last 24 hours, we've had some big statements being made by the likes of Dalio, Scott Bessent, some good news coming out of AMD and TSMC as well. Remember, TSMC is yet to report earnings. They will report it on Thursday before the market opens, ASML tomorrow before the market opens, and then Netflix Thursday after the market close. Of course, we're going to cover all of them on this channel. I also want to touch a little bit on LVMH's quarter towards the end of this video. So if you're interested in all of that, stick around, hit all the buttons. Would really appreciate that, especially that subscribe one. We're on our way to reach 90,000 subscribers. So really appreciate it if you hit that button. You can always unsubscribe later down the line. If you want to support me even further, do check out the links down in the description and in the pinned comment with the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. Alright, let me first start off with the big news for AMD. So AMD achieved first TSMC N2 product silicon milestone. This is of course Lisa Su, and this is TSMC chairman and CEO C.C. Wei. So what did they say? Well, AMD announced its next generation EPYC processor codenamed Venice. This is the first HPC product in the industry to be taped out and brought up on the TSMC advanced 2nm N2 process technology. This highlights the strength of AMD and TSMC's semiconductor manufacturing partnership to co-optimize new design architectures with leading-edge process technology. It also marks a major step forward in the execution of the AMD data center CPU roadmap, with Venice on track to launch next year. And remember, next year we have MI400 launching. AMD also announced the successful bring up and validation of its 5th gen AMD EPYC CPU products at TSMC's new fabrication facility in Arizona, underscoring its commitment to US manufacturing. TSMC has been a key partner for many years, and our deep collaboration with their R&D and manufacturing teams has enabled AMD to consistently deliver leadership products to push the limits of high-performance computing, or HPC, to a statement by Dr. Lisa Su, CEO of AMD. She continued by saying, being a lead HPC customer for TSMC N2 process and for TSMC's Arizona Fab 21 are great examples of how we are working closely together to drive innovation and deliver the advanced technologies that will power the future of computing. Now, bear in mind, it says here being a lead HPC customer, not the lead. TSMC's CEO said the following: we are proud to have AMD to be a lead HPC customer for our advanced 2nm or N2 process technology and TSMC Arizona Fab. By working together, we are driving significant technology scaling, resulting in better performance, power efficiency, and yields for high-performance silicon. We look forward to continuing to work closely with AMD to enable the next era of computing. Of course, this is excellent news for AMD and AMD shareholders. Yes, we're talking here about the CPU side of things, right? Next generation AMD EPYC CPU, codenamed Venice. This is the first HPC product to be brought up on TSMC next generation N2 nodes. Of course, this is perfect for them on time to start and actually really compete with nvidia going forward, right? 24, 25, not really, although their business in 24 has grown from basically zero to over 5 billion. Hopefully in 2025 they're closing in on that $10 billion mark as a whole when it comes to a data center or AI revenue, shall I say. In 2026, I think that's going to be a huge year for AMD, where there will be, well, they'll try to prove to the world that, look, we might be second in this race, nvidia might be way ahead of us, but look at our product today. I think we are highly competitive, maybe the most competitive we've ever been. And I think that's when things could change drastically for AMD, especially when we look at the AMD versus nvidia race. Now, as you know, nvidia is not standing still as well, so they're coming out with their own products later this year actually, and then next year and the year after that as well. So it's going to be a continuous race of, well, who innovates faster, who comes out with products faster than the other, who iterates faster than the other, and of course it has to be at a good price and good performance. But all in all, this again reinforces my view, and I think your view as well, that AMD is going to be a big winner in this AI race, worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And again, I like to reiterate, this is for next year. This year, I still think that AMD's product line across the board is enough to push this stock back above 100, 120, maybe even $150 towards the end of the year. With the MI350 with embedded, with gaming turning into tailwinds instead of headwinds, with the CPU side, the client side of things still continue to do well. I still think that AMD's business is going to continue to accelerate throughout the next couple of quarters. And then yes, the big year is 2026. Moving on to some more macro related stuff. So the 10-year is back under 4.4%. We're now at 4.38%. It was actually closer to 4.5% just a couple of days ago. So some interesting things are happening. Of course, when it dropped under 4%, everybody was like, myself included, this is the plan. Drop the rates, Fed rate cuts. They will refinance their debts at lower rates. Mission accomplished. But now that it has gone back up, well, some people are saying, oh, maybe it's been manipulated, etc., etc. Well, we actually had Scott Bessent say a couple of things in the last 24 hours. First up, trade deal negotiations are moving fast. He said discussions with Vietnam occurred last week, talks with Japan will happen this week, and discussions with South Korea will happen next week. It's going to move fast. He said that in a Bloomberg interview. He said President Donald Trump will be involved in negotiations for their most important trading partners. He said allies that make deals early will get an advantage. Usually the first person to make a deal gets the best deal. Numerous deals to be made before the 90-day tariff pause is up. And I think that makes sense. We've been talking about that. I think Tom Lee has been talking about that as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about Tom Lee when we're talking about Ray Dalio here as well. But it makes sense. 90-day, we're not going to get all the deals announced at the end of the 90 days. It's going to be throughout the next couple of weeks and probably next month and a half or so. Talking about treasuries, he said that they're not seeing any dumping of US treasuries. There's no evidence of sovereign sales of US treasuries. And he's actually saw increased foreign competition at US debt auction. And sometimes in the fall, they will be discussing the next Fed chair, because Fed Chair Jerome Powell, well, he will be out of a job, let's say, by next May 2026. Now moving on to some comments that were made by Ray Dalio. Now remember, Ray Dalio has historically been, well, very cautious about the US economy and has been more bullish on the Chinese one for a long time. He also wrote a couple of books about the changing of world order principles. Great books, to be honest, very informative. He was also right about the 2008 crisis, but you know what they say about broken clocks. You're right twice a day. No disrespect to Ray Dalio, but every time I hear him speak, especially only when things in the market look tough and difficult, I'm like, you know what? You've been wrong way more than you've been right. But let's have a listen, because I do agree with some of the things that he's saying here.
I mean, I agree with the problems, okay, about the fact that we don't manufacture and that there is a problem with that. But there's a structural problem of whether we can manufacture. We have a population that basically 3 million people, 1% of the population, is incredibly brilliant. I mean, they go to the best schools, they come out, they make the unicorns, inventiveness, half of which, by the way, are foreigners. And at the same time, they are making the unicorns. At the same time, what we have is 10% of the population around them that's doing very well. The 60% of the population has below a 6th grade reading level. And it's tough to be productive. I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession.
And for those of you that don't know, these are some of the books that he wrote. Principles by Ray Dalio, a classic. Then this one right here, of course, well, the timing is quite good if you want to read that book. The Changing World Order, Why Nations Succeed and Fail. And then the most recent one, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle. So you can start to understand why his arguments are being made time and time again, because, well, it basically fits the narrative that, well, are in those books, right? You're not going to write those books and then go on TV and say the exact opposite. No, it just doesn't make much sense. It's his belief. He believes XYZ is going to happen. He believed those things, well, should have happened maybe in the past as well. He's been wrong. Maybe the timing has not been right. Maybe he's going to be proven right now. Could very well be. Now, of course, when we talk about, well, the bullish side of things, we have to think about Tom Lee, right? Tom Lee is very bullish. He's a perma-bull. Let's be honest. Now, yes, of course, perma-bulls are not 100% correct. But bullish people, perma-bulls, are probably more correct than incorrect. Because believe it or not, well, more years are good years than bad years. Now, that's not to say that being a permaball, you're not going to lose money. No, Tom Lee as well. The last couple of weeks, he was very wrong and he needed to apologize because he thought the tariff day, that liberation day, which turned out to be liquidation day, turned out to be way worse than expected. So yes, you can be wrong sometimes. But being a perma bull, you're likely to be more correct than wrong in the long run. And that's the important part here. In the short term, a lot of bad things can happen, for sure. But if you look at the bigger picture, I highly doubt that bears outperform bulls. Now, another thing that Ray Dalio touched on is the fact that, well, we have a deeper problem. Well, he talks specifically about the United States when talking about the 60% that have basically a 6th grade reading skills. And yes, that's going to be an issue going forward, right? If you want to bring back manufacturing, if you want to make sure that AI does not destroy a lot of jobs, you have to tackle that core problem. And to be honest, I don't even think it's just a US problem. I think it's going to be a problem, especially with the newer generations that just focus way more on digital things, on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, etc., etc. Yes, this is a very, very big issue going forward that needs to be tackled. Education needs to change, because if you think that your nation or maybe the whole West or whatnot will be able to succeed if, well, 60% of the population is not going to be productive, well, you're living in a dream. Moving on to the earnings calendar. So, of course, the big names here, ASML, TSMC, Netflix. Now, it's going to be interesting, but then again, it's also going to be a lot about, well, we don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of quarters, next couple of weeks. So the information provided will be great for the quarter that happened, but for the quarter, well, afterwards, it's going to be quite impossible to understand really the situation. And then lastly here is LVMH earnings report. Well, not that great, right? Not that great. If you look at wine and spirits, that's down 9% organically or 8% reported. Fashion and leather goods down 5%. Perfume and cosmetics down 1%. Watches and jewelry basically flat. Selective retailing is also down 1%. So overall, it's down 3%. Now, you know me, I like LVMH as a business for the long run. I think it's one of the better businesses, especially in Europe. Yes, this is a European company. You can buy it in euros. You can also buy it in dollars. Right now, you can look at the drawdown year to date. Big drawdown of over 30%. In the last 3 years since the peak, it's down 45.4%. And in the last 5 years, well, about the same. But you can see how many times this stock actually in the last couple of years has gotten beaten down by over 20% or so. Yes, this is also a cyclical business. Plus, right now, you've got the cyclicality side of it. And, well, the fact that this is a company that gets impacted when China is very weak and when there is a tariff story going on. So you have to take all of that into consideration. Market cap is at 264.7 billion euros. Forward PE sits at 19.8 times. Trailing one sits at 20.9 times. So yes, it is definitely not on the cheap side of things. Free cash flow margin currently at 16.8%. You're not getting double digits revenue growth here. What you're getting is a company that has been around for hundreds of years that is becoming bigger and bigger through acquisitions. I just don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. But like I said in the past video, it's a great company. You don't have to jump in right away. You can buy a little bit here, buy a little bit there. Plus, if you really want super high quality, that's also never really cheap, then you can look at Hermes. Hermes, also a European company. Yes, one share will cost you 2,350 euros. Market cap around the same as LVMH. But look at this. Trading PE 52.1. Forward PE 49.1 times. But here, free cash flow margin 26.8%. And if you look at the drawdowns here, better than LVMH, because this is truly one of the stronger businesses out there. But yes, there is quite a price to pay for it. And so all in all, that's about it. Some great news coming out of AMD and TSMC's corner. Good comments here from Stuart Bessent and, well, Ray Dalio. Whether you agree with that or not, that's up to you. And then for LVMH, I think this is going to be, well, only for long-term investors. Short-term investors should definitely not touch a company like that. So that's all I've got for you right now. You'll see me back tomorrow for ASML's earnings report, then TSM, and then Netflix, unless something crazy happens in the next couple of hours. So if you enjoy this type of videos, hit all the buttons, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.